Hello Clippers, I am Trojan Santiago, your host, and welcome to a new episode of Trending Clips. As we all know, our country, the Philippines, hosted the 31st ASEAN Summit, and yours truly was there to be one of your ASEAN correspondents. So it's no-brainer that our hot topics for this week's episode are mostly about the ASEAN. So I am not going to keep you waiting. Here are the top stories of the week. Majority of world leaders arrive at Clark, Pampanga. Trudeau steals ASEAN spotlight, and Australian Prime Minister Turnbull visits Camp Aguinaldo. Majority of the heads of state have set foot at the Clark International Airport on Saturday and Sunday, November 11 to 12, 2017, to attend the 31st Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summits, here in the Philippines. On Saturday, November 11, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen arrived, followed by Myanmar State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi. Meanwhile, on Sunday, November 12, 9 world leaders eventually landed in Clark, namely Lao Prime Minister Thongloun Sisulit, whose flight touched down at exactly 10:37 in the morning, followed by Indonesian President Joko Widodo with Indonesian First Lady Iriana Widodo at 11:57 a.m. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak and his spouse Rosmah Mansor also landed on Sunday noon. Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, the next host for the 32nd ASEAN Summit, was the 4th head of state to arrive on Sunday at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon, followed by New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Prayut Chan-o-cha, Thailand's Prime Minister, also arrived at 2:15 p.m. together with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who landed at 4:30 in the afternoon. Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc was the last one to arrive at the Clark International Airport at 5 p.m. Other world leaders such as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, and Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev all arrived consecutively at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, on Sunday noon, while United States President Donald Trump also arrived at NAIA on Sunday evening. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau visited a Jollibee branch in Tondo when he arrived in the Philippines on Sunday for the 31st ASEAN Summit. The Canadian leader was spotted with a takeout meal from the Filipino fast food chain, which opened its first Canadian branch last December 2016. Jollibee also posted photos of Trudeau's visit showing the Prime Minister of Canada talking and taking selfies with some of the customers at the fast food restaurant. Trudeau ordered fried chicken and strawberry float before going around, shaking hands and talking to the delighted customers. The Canadian leader already had a taste of Jollibee when he visited its then newly opened branch in Winnipeg, Canada. Trudeau, who is criticized for his quote-unquote hypocrisy on climate change, went on to discuss how Canada is taking significant steps to phase out coal while also moving beyond investing in renewable energy. He said on the sidelines of the summit on November 14 that reducing coal consumption remains the greatest challenge in addressing climate change. Meanwhile, the still unresolved garbage issue between the Philippines and Canada also came to light during his press conference at the World Trade Center in Pasay City. It can be remembered that over 100 container vans filled with mixed waste made its way in batches from the North American country to Manila in 2013 and 2014. Canadian officials insist that shipments were totally legal under current international treaties, but the implication is clear for environmental advocacy groups, the local government, and residents of Capas Tarlac, where 26 of the garbage containers were dumped, that the Philippines is being used as a dump site by a larger and a wealthier nation. Trudeau brought this up during his press conference, saying,
Canadian legal regulations prevent prevented us from being able to receive the waste back in Canada. Even though it originally came from Canada, we had legal barriers and restrictions that prevented us from being able to take it back. Those regulations and those impediments have now been addressed, so it is now theoretically possible to get it back. I expressed to President Duterte and have the assurance of my officials both here in the Philippines and back in Canada that we will continue to work on this and hopefully resolve this situation.
Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull visited the Philippine military headquarters in Camp Aguinaldo on Monday, November 13, to witness a war game between troops of the Australian Defence Force, or ADF, and their counterparts in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP. About 20 Filipino and Australian troops performed a training demonstration of enhanced counter-terrorism cooperation, simulating urban operations with counter-improvised explosive device or counter-IED scenario. Turnbull watched the simulation with AFP Chief Staff General Ray Guerrero and Philippine Army Chief Lieutenant General Rolando Bautista. A side trip to Camp Aguinaldo was an opportunity for Turnbull to visit Australian troops deployed in the country. The ADF has less than 100 troops in the Philippines. Australia is one of only 2 countries with a Visiting Forces Agreement, or VFA, with the Philippines under a treaty ratified by the Philippine Senate in 2012. The other country is the United States. Australian troops also joined the Philippine and U.S. militaries in the annual Balikatan War Games. Australia also assisted the Philippine military in its recent battle with local terror groups that pledge allegiance to the international terrorist network Islamic State, or IS. And that's it for this week's episode of Trending Clips. But again, before I go, make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms. That's Facebook.com/ClipTalkTV, on Instagram at ClipTVPH, and tweet us on Twitter at Clip_TV. Or just follow us on our official YouTube channel at ClipTV. Thank you for watching. I am your host, Trojan Santiago, and this has been Trending Clips. Bye-bye.